Please welcome Administrator Power.
Good evening, everyone.
Administrator Power will begin with opening remarks, and then we will open it up to questions from the press.
Thank you all. It is great to see everyone this evening. It has been a great pleasure for me to be back in Cambodia for my fourth visit. In previous visits, of course, I have been awed by the majesty and rich culture of Angkor Wat, the incredible power and importance of the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum, and of course the beauty of the Mekong River. Being back here and discussing the deepening engagement between our two countries has been very enlightening for me. The partnership of today builds on several decades of investment by USAID in support of the dignity and prosperity of the Cambodian people. I feel personally very fortunate to be the first USAID administrator to visit Cambodia while in this role. And I have taken many notes about the priorities of the government officials, students, and civil society leaders that I've had the chance to engage with. Over the past few decades, the Cambodian people have made really remarkable strides to improve health, education, and economic growth. We in the United States, again, have been able to support these efforts, including with a total of $3 billion in assistance over the past more than 30 years. We, in these years, supported the efforts of public health heroes like Mr. Yang Chiang, this country's first entomologist, who I had the honor of meeting today, a man who has dedicated his life to trying to eliminate malaria here in Cambodia, and an individual who has been able to see with so many of you that Cambodia now has marked 6 straight years without a single death from malaria, and thus again is on the cusp of meeting this goal of eliminating malaria in this country. We also have supported Cambodia's education system to get more kids into school. Since 2007, the number of children enrolled in preschool programs has more than doubled. And Cambodia is close, in fact, to achieving universal access to primary education. USAID's programs have doubled reading scores among the children that we have worked with. And we are now seeing the Cambodian government using these same approaches to help even more young people. We worked as well to increase trade between our two countries. And today, the United States is Cambodia's largest export market. Over the past 5 years, indeed, Cambodia's exports to the United States have more than doubled. There is meaningful progress like this to celebrate. And on this trip, I am glad to announce over $50 million in new funding from across the US government to try to build on some of this progress. With these funds, we will invest in helping Cambodian farmers connect with markets and adopt new technologies to keep producing plentiful and safe food, even as the climate changes. We will invest in keeping the Cambodian people safe by clearing landmines and other unexploded ordnances, building on decades of efforts to address the dangerous legacies of war. And importantly, we will invest in supporting civil society, labor, and independent media, investments that will not only support Cambodia's democratic future, but its economic future as well. On this visit, I have met with Cambodians from all walks of life, families fostering kids with disabilities, students and environmentalists, workers who care for some of this country's most sacred sites, doctors, nurses, and community health workers, labor activists, and brave individuals who seek to hold those with power accountable to the principles enshrined in this country's constitution: democracy, human rights, transparency. There is great potential for the relationship between the United States and Cambodia to grow stronger. And as is the case in all of our important relationships, there are also concerns, including about unjustified arrests and threats to basic rights. We are following the case of journalist Mekdara very closely, developments with Mekdara's family, and to raise this issue along with other concerning cases in my meeting with the Prime Minister today. All of these cases are sensitive, but I will just underscore that we have emphasized our support for finding positive resolutions. More broadly, as I discussed with Prime Minister Hun Manet earlier today, American and international companies see real opportunity here in Cambodia. But in order to invest here, they want to see meaningful improvements in the business enabling environment, to tackle corruption, to improve respect for labor rights, and to address the cyber scam operations plaguing Cambodia's international reputation. Working toward greater transparency, accountability, and protection of human rights can unlock extraordinary prosperity for the Cambodian people. That can be the promise of a new generation, and we in the United States will be eager partners in working together to achieve it. Thank you so much, and I look forward to taking your questions.
We'll now open it to questions from the press. Please raise your hand. Okay, we can start here.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Chantol from Daily Post. So you said you announced $50 new million for Cambodia. What have you heard from the authorities or the Cambodian government that in return of this new aid? And what were you promised in the case of Mekdara? Will he be released? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to comment further on Mekdara's case beyond to stress the importance of independent media, of checks and balances, and of the rule of law. With regard to the new investments that have been announced, they range from an additional investment in the prevention of tuberculosis. I was able yesterday in Siem Reap to witness a very energetic effort to reach at least some of the Cambodians who have tuberculosis, but often do not know they have TB until it is not only too late for them, but too late for others, given how the disease spreads. So USAID is partnering with community-based organizations that will reach citizens where they are, not expecting citizens to experience a symptom and then travel a long way to get a diagnosis, but an effort really to make the diagnostic technology more mobile and more readily available. And this is with an eye to helping Cambodia and Cambodians reach the goal that the government has set to eliminate TB by 2030. So this is a $4 million investment in a local organization that is driving some of this community-based work to get rid of TB. In addition, just to stay in the area of public health, we have announced an additional $1 million to invest in doing a survey for the Cambodian people of blood lead levels. There is significant lead poisoning among children in many developing countries, including Cambodia, but understanding exactly where those elevated levels of lead in the blood are clustered, understanding the sources of lead poisoning is absolutely critical to eliminating lead poisoning going forward. And this was something, both this and TB, and of course all of the work we have done together on malaria were each topics that I had a chance to discuss with the Prime Minister and sense a lot of enthusiasm to go forward again with the efforts to eliminate TB and the effort now to get a handle on precisely what the sources of lead poisoning are, so as to embark on a multifaceted effort to regulate lead and to ensure that Cambodia's children are no longer exposed to something that can be very harmful to educational attainment and can ultimately even cause premature death. We also are announcing an investment of an additional $5 million society and independent media. And here, let me just note, obviously these are investments in non-governmental actors. But one of the topics that we discussed at length with the Prime Minister was his broad ambition to attract more foreign investment, of course, to take steps that will ensure that the economy continues to grow and it even grows more and creates jobs for all of the young people who are looking for jobs every year. But it is really, really important for investors to have confidence in the rule of law, for corruption to be tackled, so that, for example, American companies can feel confident that they can invest here without having to pay bribes or engage in kickbacks, which are illegal in the United States. And so these investments in civil society, in media, in the dignity of work and workers, all of these are investments as well in Cambodia's economic development and that broad ambition that so many Cambodians have for their children to enjoy a more prosperous future than they themselves.
We'll take the next question, please. Sure.
Hi, my name is. Hi, my name is Danielle Keaton-Olson. I'm a freelance journalist based in Phnom Penh. And I was wondering, so a Cambodian-based labor rights organization called Central has gotten under fire for receiving foreign funding. The Cambodian government has criticized it for receiving foreign funding. And of course, there's been the arrest of our colleague and the U.S. recognized trafficking in persons report hero, Naktura. Are these raising alarms or concern within USAID at this moment?
Well, I have had the chance on this visit to sit down with individuals from Central and to hear firsthand about the experiences that they have been having, the level of scrutiny of their operations, and the concerns that they have about being able to continue doing the work that has proven so important for workers' rights here in Cambodia. I also had a chance in Siem Reap to meet with individuals who have helped organize those who actually maintain these cherished tourist sites and who themselves have organized in order to secure better wages, better working conditions, better hours, etc. President Biden is laser focused on labor rights at home, and indeed has shown tremendous initiative and leadership on promoting global labor rights. And so it was very important in having this visit for us to sit down and dig into just those issues. And one of the arguments that I made today with the government, and it's an argument, again, that U.S. officials are making all around the world, is that labor rights and workers' abilities, a worker's ability and workers' abilities to advocate for themselves without fear of persecution is absolutely critical to growing the economy in a manner that expands livelihoods and prosperity for all Cambodians. So this is not simply an issue of human rights, which it is. It is also absolutely critical that the freedom to organize, the freedom to associate, the freedom to express one's concerns be protected. And I think that is the foundation to an economy that will not only grow, but grow in an inclusive manner that benefits ordinary Cambodians and not merely those who have benefited from growth in prior generations.
Can I follow?
Sure. Yes.
Sorry, just to clarify, has it raised some concerns about USAID's ability to support these values that, in terms of labor rights and independent media that the U.S. government values?
Well, as I indicated in announcing additional support, you know, when these rights are challenged, it becomes all the more important for USAID to be working in partnership with those who are bravely defending those rights. And so I actually think it underscores the importance of these investments, and I think that is certainly the message that I heard from the labor organizers that I've spoken with over the last few days, is both the resources to support those who are organizing, but also what we call the development diplomacy, you know, raising raising with senior government officials and respected. And the United States is not alone in raising these concerns. Obviously, other democracies are intent as well in raising concerns about again, some of what appear to be the growing pressures on workers and on unions and on labor organizers.
Thank you. We'll go on to the next question in the back.
Good evening, Madam. My name is Horace May. I'm a reporter from Voice of America. My question is, what is your observation about Chinese growing influence in Cambodia when it comes to talk about Cambodia's effort to improve democracy? Thank you.
Sorry, just a little bit hard to hear. Maybe just slow down. And I heard the first part, but just the last part of your question.
Does the Chinese growing influence undermine effort of Cambodia to improve democracy?
Thank you. One of the things that the United States stresses in the countries where it works around the world is the importance of transparency, a spirit of partnership, the importance of natural resources being protected and preserved. As we just discussed, the importance of civil society and non-governmental actors holding government accountable. And maybe this is a point I would stress even the most strongly, the importance of the investments we make strengthening a country's path to independence rather than any kind of dependence. And so one of the things that really stands out for me in terms of the US development model is that we provide our support by and large through grants. It's extremely important to us that when we invest in health programming or education programming or food security efforts like the USDA program that I've announced on this visit, or demining, like the additional $12 million that I announced on this visit, that the Cambodian people understand that these resources are invested in a spirit of partnership. We are listening to our Cambodian partners and trying to mobilize resources in support of their objectives. What we do not want is for Cambodia or the Cambodian people to be somehow indebted to us in a manner that actually impedes this country's economic development. So just to give you one statistical example of this, the United States invests about $9 in grants for every dollar of loan that the United States provides. The PRC invests about $9 in loans for every dollar in grants. And one of the challenges, and these numbers are lower, I think, than the actual number, but at least, that is the ratio at least. One of the challenges is that can saddle future generations with the obligation to repay debt, often at high interest, debt that was incurred long before. Again, our goal is to move for Cambodia to move once and for all from aid to trade. We know the capability of the Cambodian people. We see it in the incredible economic growth that this country has enjoyed. We see it in the resilience of the people who have gone through so much over the generations. And what we seek to do is to be catalytic and responsive to our partners' objectives. But the ultimate objective is for a sovereign and independent Cambodia to make its own choices about how to deploy its own resources, including its tremendous human capital.
We can take one or two more questions. Standing in the back, please. Yes.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am. And my name is Ratha from the Cambodia China Time. and recording to my city time. And I have some couple questions to ask you. And I just would like to say it is very your busy trip to Cambodia. And my first question is that how do you think about the development in Cambodia? As you mentioned that this is your fourth trip to Cambodia. And the second one is why American decided to support more aid to Cambodia. And the last one, what is your encouragement in order to using aid in the right way and like the U.S. purpose? Thank you.
Well, I have only been USAID administrator now for more than 3.5 years, let's say. But one of the things that is wonderful about visiting Cambodia is to see the way in which previous investments by USAID and really from the American people have produced such significant results here. I gave the example of the elimination of malaria. The work done to eliminate malaria was done by Cambodians. It's Cambodia that achieved, is on the verge, I should say, of achieving that very, very significant accomplishment. But USAID has been present over the last several decades in supporting that work. I mentioned in education that USAID has made investments in looking to see what forms of education are having the greatest impact with students. That's a relatively small program, but that produced really valuable information. And now the Ministry of Education is using that information to inform its decisions about curriculum. I think these are two really important examples of how this assistance can flow. It starts with respecting the judgment and the priorities of the Cambodian people. One of the things about USAID that is not well known, and even that I was not aware of before I came to USAID, is that 3/4 of our staff in the countries in which we work are nationals of the countries in which we work. So here, of course, that means that the vast majority of our staff here in Cambodia are Cambodians who live in their communities, who listen to their neighbors, who understand the importance of making health progress, and also understand the importance of fighting corruption and ensuring that political reform and economic development go hand in hand. So I think that is our posture going forward, is we have been present in the country in some form since just after the Paris Peace Agreements, since 1993, 1994. We have learned a lot, and the people from whom we have learned the most are the Cambodian people. So I think our presence here is not about, geopolitical competition. It is about advancing the dignity, prosperity, and peace for Cambodians.
Thank you. I think we can take one last question. We have a lot of hands coming up. We'll go to the front row here, and I'll go to. Yes.
I wanted to follow up.
Your microphone is not on.
I wanted to follow up on the aid that was rescinded and then reinstated last year after the election, which the State Department called the Cambodian election last year neither free nor fair, and then 18 million US aid was withheld. Then that decision was reversed 2 months later. The U.S. Embassy told Cambodian News at the time that the aid was reinstated to, quote, encourage the new government to live up to its stated intentions to be more open and democratic. So a year later, I just wanted to follow up and ask, do you think it worked?
Well, first, I think it's important to discuss the aid itself. And I don't need to repeat what we've already discussed here today, but when we invest $12 million in demining, that means fewer kids are going to run into unexploded ordnances. When we invest in moving diagnostic equipment that does x-rays of the lungs, that means fewer people are going to carry TB without knowing it. And when we invest after COVID-19 and the horrible toll that took here, not only on human health, but on the economy, when we invest in lab equipment and surveillance to prevent future global health security threats, that's a really important investment in Cambodia's health and stability, but also in America's health. Every investment in global health security that we make internationally ultimately benefits us all since we are connected. So I think that there absolutely is an effort to engage the government that has been now in office for 14 months and to raise concerns about individuals who have in some cases exposed challenges in Cambodia that the Cambodian people benefit from seeing exposed, like the scamming centers, like corruption, like human rights abuse by police or others. We, over this last, or really over these last decades, but including with the new government, have made investments in labor organizing, in independent media, in these civil society organizations. At the same time, we have pressed these issues through our development diplomacy. I don't think that the United States, anywhere in the world, gives up on its efforts to promote human rights, to stress the linkage between economic progress and checks and balances and, again, the protection and promotion of human rights. And of course, there are issues of concern, just as there were when the pause was put in place. But our programming resources do not go to the government. They go to non-governmental organizations. They go to the very organizations that, in many cases, are holding government accountable. In health, of course, goes to community-based organizations that, yes, work alongside the Ministry of Health. But it is really important to take note that our assistance is to the people of this country. And that assistance, as we examine it, if it is advancing dignity, advancing checks and balances, it's important to sustain those investments over time.
Thank you very much to our members of the press who joined us here this evening. We really appreciate you coming out to see the administrator, and of course, thank you to the administrator for coming today to address everyone.